Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And I just want to say thank you for coming to this wonderful, peaceful platform. Get to know your councils for Reseda and Woodland Hills. And I want to say thank you. My name is Yasmin Flores, and I have Amy Kane. She's going to be our timekeeper, as well, Mr. Steve Spergen, who's going to be helping me um, being a co-host. We want to respect everyone's time, so we want to get started. Also, we are going to be ending around 7:30, maybe earlier, depending on the questions and answers. So just letting you know. So thank you so much. Now we want to start with the Woodland Hills candidates. So please, we're going to be introducing all the candidates, and Steve Sperry is going to be calling out the names. So please, Sean.
All right, my name is Sean McCarthy. I'm the community-based organization rep for Area 2, which is the Warner Center area, which extends from the 101 freeway to Van Owen, from DeSoto to Topanga Canyon. It actually takes in a little chunk of Canoga, well, what was Canoga Park, what is Canoga Park, and to the east, it goes over to Fallbrook along Victory to Van Owen. I pride myself on taking care of the community. I don't know how much you know about what I've done, but recently I painted, along with Yasmin and a number of other people from Reseda, the Van Alden Bridge over the LA River. 2 weeks ago, I completed the Amigo Bridge over the LA River. I haven't painted the outside, but the inside of the bridge is completely repainted. Saturday, I'm going to be working at Hart and Wilbur. There's a gentleman up there who asked if I could come up and help with that one, so I'm working on that right now. I've painted a number of the fire hydrants in your area. I've worked on probably, I don't know, a dozen cleanups, Yasmin, in Reseda over the years. And in my area, in Area 2, I've painted over 500 of the fire hydrants in and around Warner Center. This is just one of the things I do because I can do it. I can't stop crime. I can't stop, famine. I can't stop injustice, but I can do what I can do, and that is to clean up those parts of the city that I can handle one at a time. And so that's what I do. I sit on the plum committee for Woodland Hills, and I have a plum meeting at 6:30 this evening, so I'm going to have to jam out of here kind of quickly, but that's what I do, and we're considering a number of projects in Warner Center right now. I was part of the Warner Center specific plan, and I hope to continue in that regard, and hope that if there's any support you can give me, that you do. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Sean. Do we have any other candidates for Woodland Hills? Okay, so we're actually going to start with the Reseda candidates. So we're going to start calling Jennifer. I know you have to leave, so please, could you introduce yourself?
Hi there, I'm Jennifer Hunt Gudernatch, and I am running for Reseda Neighborhood Council. We bought our home here in 2020, and we were looking all over the valley and just felt at home in Reseda. It's such a vibrant and beautiful community. And when we got here, I decided that I wanted to get involved. And so I looked into the Reseda Neighborhood Council, and I found amazing people that are already on the council and that want to be on the council. And we created our slate, Reseda for All, that Jamie and Victor are also a part of, as well as Marvin and Anat. And we just want to help this community thrive and make it a wonderful place for everyone, just to really help it grow. And for me specifically, I'm a teacher, and so I really want to use our resources to help our Reseda public schools and the youth opportunities. So I want to help, find more funding and clean up parks, make sure that where all of our equipment is safe and accessible for everyone, adding some handicap accessible play equipment, things that are going to really benefit specifically the children and their families here in Reseda. So we want to build upon that. And I think that we can do it in a very productive and wonderful way. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Victor, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey, I just want to say thank you for having me on. I don't have a prepared statement or anything, but I guess the gist of it is I'm also running. My name is Victor. I'm also running for Reseda Neighborhood Council. I'm already on the council. It was an open seat or a vacated seat that I had the privilege to be voted in. And I guess the general idea behind my involvement with Reseda in general and the council is, I guess it's been a pet peeve of mine of the disproportionate way in which the city of Los Angeles dispenses city services. And I think that's kind of like a sticking point for me, specifically when it comes to, working class neighborhoods like Reseda, and what I feel are, I suppose, you know, uh, inadequacies in those city services, specifically to those types of neighborhoods like the one that I reside in. And that's the general idea. That's more or less my imperative to seek out the neighborhood council and to lend my time and expertise wherever I can to assist in transforming the council itself and Reseda as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you so much. Now, Jamie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Jamie York. I'm the secretary of the Reseda Council. I was just elected unanimously. And I am running for the residential seat on the Reseda Neighborhood Council to be reelected. I'm a homeowner in the north part of Reseda. We've lived here for about 3 years and we love our community. One of my favorite things about living here is my community. I love helping my neighbors. I love connecting them, whether it's home improvement projects or connecting them to services in the city. And probably one of my favorite things about living here is having a garden and having space for my dogs to run. So I love the community that I feel like I've built here with my neighbors, and I'm looking to take that love and expand it. And I want the city of Reseda to thrive. And much like Victor, one of the things that I truly feel that the city has been inadequate about is connecting Reseda to city services that are often taken for granted in other communities. So some of the things that I think are really important is shade equity. I think we all experienced the heat last summer where it got up to 120 degrees. So I'm very into projects that will help improve shade and help bring cooling through the use of planting trees. And I'm also very into pedestrian and traffic safety issues. As some of you may know, the stretch of Reseda Boulevard that goes through Reseda is an extremely dangerous stretch. There's been in the last 10 years over 100 serious and fatal accidents just on that little strip. And I think that there's a lot that we can do to bring improvements to our city. So I'm just really passionate about using good data. I'm very passionate about using good projects so that we can try and push the city to do more with what it has and to act with intelligence and to be smart about how it implements its services. So I really hope that you will vote for me and my slate mates because we really want to bring Reseda into a thriving and transformative city. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Carla, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes. Thank you.
So hi, my name is Carla Escobar, and I'm running for business stakeholder representative here for Reseda Neighborhood Council. And I also not only have a business, but also live in Reseda. So I spend a lot of time here. And I've seen that, throughout the years that I saw it rise, I also seen some deterioration of our city throughout the last year or two. And I really would love to see an improvement. That's one of the reasons I wanted to get involved. one of the areas that I feel like I could really help is with the community outreach. I think that sometimes in our community, we don't even know about some changes happening with some of the local businesses and even some of the things that are happening even to some of our community schools. So I think it's really important for us to create more improvement. I know people like Jamie have been working on the website. So with my skills, I think I could bring better, not only content, but even just better outreach through my marketing and communication skills. I also feel that there's a lot of awareness that I would want to bring to some of our businesses in order to create restoration opportunities and volunteer opportunities for us to also do cleanups that are really important, because I think Reseda Park is one of those places that I would like to spend more time in. And I think that it should be a little bit more open for just more cleanliness and a better place for us to be. So I really hope that throughout my time in neighborhood council, if you vote for me, that I could really find ways of really helping just improve those simple things. Because I'm really one of those people that just loves to be a team player. And I think being more involved with the community is what I want for people to also feel like they can be a part of, so that they can have a voice through us, because we can also communicate with so many other people, including city council. So I think we do play a huge part and can really see some improvements, not only to homes, but businesses. And I hope I can be a part of that. So thank you.
Okay, so we also have Steve is going to read from one of our candidates. Could not make it, but she actually asked politely for us to read it. So, yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I was very happy to find out that we would all be gathering to meet each other and discuss the upcoming election. And I'd like to thank everyone involved in setting this meeting up, as well as everyone in attendance. I regret that I am unable to be there to meet you all, but I am thankful for the opportunity to leave a message with you. I have lived in Reseda with my husband for several years now, and I have seen the effects of the city's neglect of our neighbors and neighborhood as a whole. Reseda is a neighborhood of Los Angeles, and as such, it is every bit as important and deserving of the attention as any other neighborhood within our city. We need the equity of the city services, which are paid by our tax dollars, greener spaces, shade trees for our children, and all of our loved ones. Consistent and dependable access to healthy meals for all who are struggling with food insecurity, robust and safe public transit for our workers and students, and a Reseda Neighborhood Council, which will fight to make sure that the Los Angeles City Council is responsive to the needs of all Reseda's residents. I truly believe that all of this is achievable, and I am ready to do what I can for my neighborhood. We are all stronger with each other's support, and I can't wait to see the beautiful progress we accomplish together. Thank you. Thank you again, Yasmin, and her name is Anat Indig-Peddicord.
And we apologize if we mispronounced her name. Thank you.
I'm from Brooklyn.
So this is what's going to happen right now. We're going to open it up for questions and answers. So anybody who likes to ask the question to any of the candidates, please do so. We have 2 minutes, and this is where Amy's going to keep time. We just want to make sure that we are fair to everyone. So please, everybody unmute yourself and ask the questions, or raise your hands and you ask the question to whom you like to ask the question to. All right, thank you. Any questions?
Thank you so much for your time. Can I ask Jessica a question?
Yes, of course, Jessica.
Hi, Jessica. I just wanted to say I really admire your aspirations and your idea to help children right now, like with everything that's going on, COVID and, education, like children having trouble, falling behind, and like parents have like shortness and resources. It's very stressful time, and trying to like take care of the parks is definitely important, and especially when we have kids, right? So I just wanted to know what would be your main goal if you were to be selected? How would you represent the Reseda community?
Actually, Anna, you're thinking of Jennifer.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. God, we're like, so Jennifer, please.
Hey, no worries. Late 80s, there were always Jessicas or Jennifers. Don't worry about it. I totally feel you. I have two daughters. So for me, my hope, if elected, is to be on the is to really man like the youth services and education committee, so that what we can do is put the money and the resources that the city gives us into programs for our kids, like really building up these programs, soccer, little league, that stuff, so our kids can be social, so they can be together. I know that my slate and I have also talked about doing things like a trying to figure out a farmer's market, and then we could look into donating our a percentage or a proceed to our schools, so our schools can get more funding. There are so many ways that we can use that to our advantage. We need to get in there and talk to city council and get what we can into Reseda. And I mean, Jamie and Victor just spoke about it. We're ready to do it. We're ready to do the work and help our community. And that starts, for me, especially with helping our kids. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, we have a question from Jasmine. So Jasmine, would you like to?
Yasmin.
Yasmin, hi.
From one, you also pronounce your name Yasmin, is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome. I know we're rare and few and far between, so it's always great to meet another Yasmin.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
My question is for Jamie. Since she is already on the board, I would love to know what actions she has already taken to make Reseda more equitable and accessible to residents and stakeholders.
I haven't been on the board a very long time, but I think in the short time that I've been on there, I've tried to accomplish as much as I can. So probably one of the biggest things that I did was I wrote a community impact statement in favor of reopening the West Valley Animal Shelter. As some of you may know, the West Valley Animal Shelter was closed due to COVID, but then there was also talk of essentially giving away the West Valley Animal Shelter. And there's a number of reasons why I think that that would have been a terrible proposal from the city, and I was very supportive of the legislation to not do that. Reseda Ranch is an area of Reseda that is one of the few areas that's zoned for large animals, and the West Valley Animal Shelter is basically the only shelter in the entire Los Angeles City municipal animal shelter system that can handle large animals. So its closure would have left the residents of Reseda in particular underserved, because we do have this area, this neighborhood that is zoned specifically that people can have horses and goats, and I've even seen like emus, which is fun on a walk. So that's one of the big things that I've done. Additionally, outside of the council, I participated in the painting of the Van Alden Bridge and the cleanup. So I really like to look for community service projects where I can give back. Additionally, I was the author of a motion to request a town hall from Bob Burnenfield about the cabin community that is being built in Reseda, because I knew that there were many residents in our neighborhood who didn't feel like they had gotten the information that they wanted about that. And so I drafted and wrote a motion to ask Bob to come in and answer questions, because I knew that people were displeased with his YouTube video presentation, and I wanted something that was a little bit more interactive and live so that people could have the opportunity to speak with him. And that's my 2 minutes, but probably a little bit more.
Cindy Miller.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Cindy Miller, please unmute yourself.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Cindy. I had a question for Jamie, actually. I was going to ask, what would you say? I mean, so far, because I don't know how long you've been on the council. What would be, I suppose, your most significant accomplishment so far on the council? And then you had mentioned gardening, so I wanted to know what Reseda was going to be doing for native pollinators.
As for native pollinators, so recently DJ, who is on the neighborhood council, had passed a motion to give away these concrete planters that are in front of the Reseda Neighborhood Council. And so one of the things that I offered was to give away seeds with those planters in an effort, because I actually I try and make an effort personally to have something going for the bees at all times. I have a bunch of California poppy going currently, which are a really important protein source for bees. And then in terms of my most significant accomplishment, I've only been on the board since October, so really only since November. And we've had a couple of incidents where the board meetings haven't happened. But I think maybe the most significant thing that I've done is in reaching out to my fellow board members to try to get them more involved in the process of working on CISs and working on motions. We just actually passed something in the bylaws and standing rules committee, and I worked on this with Yasmin to require all committee members to abide by the BONC, which is the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners Code of Conduct, which I thought was really important because it was an overlooked area. And I think that at the end of the day, we all have to treat each other with dignity and respect. And so that was something I was really happy to work on with Yasmin. And then also with Victor, who's on my slate, I started the ad hoc technology committee in an effort to retake the Reseda Council website because we did not have control of it. So we could not update it, which meant that our neighbors could not be updated about things that were going on in our community. So with Victor's help, and boy, did Victor do a lot of the heavy lift, all credit there, but we were able to retake the website. And so now it can be updated. We can get our agendas up. We've started adding more information to help people get connected to services. Today, actually, I just uploaded more information on neighborhood purpose grants for the finance committee so that they would be able to, people, or not people, but 501c3s and LAUSD schools would be able to apply for those grants so that we can improve Reseda. So those are probably the big things that I've done.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Travis Doyle, unmute yourself.
You can unmute yourself.
Hi, this question is basically for everyone who's running in Reseda, as I'm a stakeholder in Reseda. I know that last night there was I guess, rally outside the public library to protest the installation of the homeless cabins in the Reseda area. I guess, whoever is on the Reseda slate running in Reseda can answer this. What if anything are you guys planning on doing to kind of get them onto your side? Do you think that's even possible? And what if anything are you guys attempting to do in order to kind of get them to see things from your point of view?
Any of the Reseda Neighborhood Council candidates would like to answer this question? Jennifer, please. Thank you. Unmute yourself.
Travis, thanks so much for your question. So all of us, we all live in Los Angeles and our unhoused neighbors are struggling. We're all struggling. It's a pandemic. And I can empathize with people that maybe are feeling nervous that their home values are going to go down, or, feeling like this might be an issue for them. However, this is a public health crisis and we need to offer some sort of transitional housing. So I actually spent last week on the phone with Bob's office. And for me, the cabin community is just a temporary solution. And I was asking Bob in his office, where is the permanent housing? So what I would do personally is I'm going to pressure Bob or whoever is our council member, for the next couple of years. And when is the permanent housing in Canoga Park going to be finished? Is that right now it's not enough space. So where are we going to build our next permanent housing, or how are we going to, you know, look into things like Nithya Raman just brought in the PATH program, where they reach out to landlords and they ask them, you know, do you want to use this voucher to give our unhoused neighbors a place to live? I think finding different outlets and finding our unhoused neighbors homes is going to be the solution. And you know, I think that we can all agree that everyone deserves a home. And if I think if we just talk to people and people reach out, there's a way for us to explain how this is going to benefit everyone.
Thank you so much. And actually, we're going to continue with this question, but there's two candidates. They just came in. I think Kathleen and I think that's DJ. So Kathleen, could you please introduce yourself?
Awesome. Apologies again for being late. I just finished work. I'm glad that the Woodland Hills council meetings are generally at 6:30 or 7 o'clock for that reason. My name is Kathleen Barth, and I'm running for residential representative in Area 2 of Woodland Hills. I recently moved from North Hollywood to Woodland Hills, mainly because the rental costs in that area had become unaffordable. Even during the pandemic, rents had continued to trend upwards in Los Angeles. The newly built Q apartments in Woodland Hills start at $2,700 for a one bedroom. This leads to renters, especially those earning minimum wage or just above, to move farther into the valley where rents are cheaper. In the long term, this exodus to the West Valley will increase our rental costs, heighten traffic due to commuters, and expand the unhoused population as they're priced out of the system. I hope that bringing a renter's perspective to the council can assist in building a more equitable neighborhood. Additionally, I believe that the Neighborhood Council is a great way to ensure that all of our voices are represented to City Council Member Bob Blumenfield's office. As a social media professional, I'd like to expand the council's digital outreach to make more folks aware of the existence of the council and get them involved. Few residents even know that the Neighborhood Council exists, and most don't know their purpose. Especially during the pandemic, this is a prime opportunity to expand the council's digital footprint and welcome more neighbors to general meetings and committees. And I also want to say I'm super impressed by the current members of the Reseda Council being so in touch with Council Member Blumenfeld's office, because that doesn't seem to be happening to the same extent with the current Woodland Hills Board.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. DJ, is that you? I'm not sure.
My name's DJ Frank. I've been associated with the Neighborhood Council for a long time. And currently am a board member. Have been for about the last year. I filled a vacancy in a seat. I'm chairman of the Plum Committee and chairman of the Bylaws and Rules of Standing Committee. And I don't know what else to say other than I've been working with the Neighborhood Council for more than a decade, trying to do my best to help out Reseda.
Well, thank you so much. Okay, let's continue with the questions.
Okay, Cindy Miller, you're up. Unmute yourself, please.
Hello. If you guys can hear me again, sorry. My question was for Victor, actually. Jamie had said that you were responsible for helping implement the website. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that and why it's important, what the impact is for the community.
So we haven't revamped the website per se. You know, it's still the old website, but we've more or less commandeered it back from its previous state. There were some Brown violations, which was part of the imperative, you know, for us to get that sorted and addressed with Jamie's help. of course. We have some ideas going forward in regards to the site. One of the things that we want to do and that we've already kind of started working on is basically a resource page for resources within Reseda neighborhood boundaries. We kind of want to expand on that, right? So resources. I was also thinking about ideas on, listing out all businesses if possible. Maybe they can submit, businesses can submit, requests to be listed on our site. We'd be more than happy to have them on there. And just kind of have a working directory and a place for people to actually get relevant news would be, as far as what's happening in the neighborhood in regards to the neighborhood council and in the neighborhood as well. That would be ideal. We'd probably get more involvement that way as well. And so that's more or less what we've done and what we're planning on doing. And we have, a couple other technical things that are in the works as well, but irrelevant as far as the site itself.
Great. Well,
Okay.
thank you so much, Victor.
All right, our next person, there isn't a name on it. It says Moto G7, so they're on a cell phone also.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we could hear you now. Thank you.
I had a question for Jamie York. I know you're on the Neighborhood Council for Los Angeles, but how would you work to improve like public transit, since that's a county agency within the Reseda neighborhood?
Okay, unmuted. So you're right, and there's the Reseda neighborhood all neighborhood councils, all 99 of them are limited in how they can approach county issues, because essentially we're only supposed to be councils are limited in how they can reach out to, like, we're not supposed to talk about federal lobbying or state lobbying or even county lobbying. We're only supposed to talk to the city. However, one of the ways that we can influence things at the county level is by doing CISs on resolutions that are in the city that are then on county issues. So you sort of have to go through the city to do it. But I know one of the reasons one of the things that I've worked on with Marvin, who's on this late but was unable to come tonight, is we've put forth a motion supporting fare free transit. Most of Metro's budget doesn't come from fares. It's between 9 and 13% depending on the year. So replacing that with federal subsidies, which are currently being discussed at the federal level, is very, very doable. And that could move our model from a fare paying model to a free model. If we did that, it would encourage more people to take public transportation, which would then lessen traffic on the roads. It would also help those in our community who are the poorest, because they would no longer then have transportation cost. And it would actually be a really easy way of addressing that. So that's one of the things that it's going to be on the agenda. And I don't think I'm brown acting. Yeah, I'm okay with the number of people, not brown acting myself. It's one of those things that I actually think would be a really transformational change in terms of reducing traffic, which would then also help the climate. It would help bus times, because you'd no longer have people having to swipe their tap cards to get on the bus. It would open up, I think, with the train system being free, more people could explore more areas, which means maybe more people might come into the valley and come to Reseda for some of the things that hopefully my slate and I can try and implement. So that's a couple of the things that, with regard to transportation, that's kind of what we've drilled down on, is how do we make transportation more accessible and how do we make it function better for the average citizen?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jamie.
Anna, do you still have another question?
I would like to ask Jamie, because she's actually been part of the council for a while, right? I'd like to ask, how did you help the community, homeowners and residential, be more informed about this, tiny home village? How did you help people actually be heard with their concerns? I saw that on social media, you were actually harassing some of the characters who are participating, including family members that bust their butt, you know, to try to work living paycheck to paycheck. And yes, we are like barely making it and we could end up in the same situation. It really sucks that you paint an image that looks beautiful and there's always some bias and discrimination behind it. And it kind of hurts. So I want to know, how would you actually help your community? And like you said, you want to amplify our voices, but we feel silence. How would you help us feel safer?
Who was that?
For Jamie
Okay.
Yorker.
Okay.
Jamie, you could unmute yourself.
There we go.
Okay.
So I don't really have social media except for that I've done one post on Nextdoor. And I said that I disagreed with going to Bob's house to protest and building things on his property because he has kids. And I feel like that's a little scary for the kids. So if that's harassing, I don't think that it is. That's simply my opinion, that I don't think it's appropriate to be at his house. And that I didn't think that doing that is something that people should be proud of. But in terms of how I've helped the community, I haven't been on the council that long. However, when another member of our community, Jason Kenziera, came in and wanted something specifically to talk about this, I think I was the only member of the Reseda Neighborhood Council who reached out. And if I'm wrong on that, please correct me, but I was the only member of the Reseda Neighborhood Council who reached out to him after that meeting to get more information. I had a very extensive phone call with him. I did email follow-up. And even though Jason kind of dropped off, I still did a motion to ask Bob for a town hall in order to get more information. That was something that I passed in January of this year because I didn't think that Bob had done a particularly good job in informing the community. So that's what I've done so far in the short amount of time that I've been on here. He did do a presentation to the community, but I think that's before I was officially on the council. I remember watching that as just like you, as a stakeholder coming to a meeting.
All right, thank you so much, Jamie. Just a friendly reminder, remember, we have 2 minutes to ask the question, 2 minutes to answer, and please respect everyone who is talking. So just want a friendly reminder on that. The next person?
Yeah, Casey Brenner.
I just wanted to ask how you guys work collaboratively and how do you plan to scale what you've done for your immediate neighborhood to all of Reseda?
So I'm really hopeful that we can make the Reseda Neighborhood Council a more functional and responsive body. And I think that it's going to require some new blood to make that happen. There's a reason that our website wasn't working for over a year, and that's something that needed to be fixed. And I think it's going to take people who are willing to step up and lend their skills. And it takes more than having just a handful of people being willing to do that. I know Yasmin's done a ton of work to make the Reseda Council more functional, but I think that you need a body of people that are willing to do that work. And that's what I'm hopeful that we can do by getting some more people on the council and working together. And just in the process of running, I think I've identified people who might be interested in joining committees, which would be really exciting, so that we could get the committees going, because it can't just be one person. It's got to be a body working together, because no one person can do the lift. It has to be multiple people working together. So that's how I think about it. But I think this question is also for everyone. Why am I talking so much?
All right. Anybody else like to answer that question? Yes. Okay, Carla, please. You can unmute yourself, please. Carla. Yes.
So I think one of the ways, like I was looking on the Instagram page just like yesterday or today, and I think it's been like 31 weeks since we've posted. And I think one of the ways that we all communicate nowadays, as far as on a big community scale, is through social media. And I've worked with many different people. I used to have an experience working at networks like CBS. So I've created a lot of those kind of platforms. So I feel like I can bring that to the table so that you can all have better access to the easier forms of communication. And I think also having more opportunity for you to know about meetings happening can also create more volunteers, which I think is something that we really need in this community. Because I don't think, as far as myself, I also feel like I have never really known about a lot of the community things happening. And I've also felt blindsided about some of those things. And so I feel like I can bring some of that experience, my media experience, to help you all become more aware, just like I want to become more aware, in ways that are more accessible. So whether it's through our social media, or even through content, and even through town hall and more community meetings, I think it's going to give us a more opportunity to also create bigger committees, which I think we want to do, as Jamie mentioned, because the more people we have involved, the more, two heads work better than one. So I think the more we can all get together and hear different point of views, it'll also allow us to steer things in different directions than maybe we might have thought. So I think it's really important to hear everyone's voice and not just focus on just one direction. And I think all of us, including the Reseda for All team that I've spoken to, we all want to do a lot of that and work together versus against each other, because it's so much more important to think about the community versus ourselves when it comes to this, because we all are involved in one way or another. So that's, I think, a way of improving the communication with you guys.
Thank you so much. We have a Miran. He's actually for the Woodland Hills. Would you like to introduce yourself, Miran? You could unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for this event. I enjoyed, I was not on time because we had a shortage in the power. So I had to call the power LA to take care of it. I'm already in the Empower LA system for a very long time, and I'm very much involved in youth and civic engagement. I work very closely with the Senator Henry Stern. I was the first one that I developed and established the youth and civic program 5 years ago, and we did together the first event in Reseda High School where over 300 students were attended. I am also involved in homelessness activities in the community because it's a very big problem, and hopefully we will find, we will need to engage the community to find the right language and the right solution. Third, I also work closely with the schools, especially with talented students. I'm coming from an aerospace background, and the aerospace has a specific programs through JPL to encourage the students from a young age to get involved in specific programs so they can understand the value of the role and the responsibility, because having youth and investing on the youth, they are the future for our community. I worked actually with our board, LUSD, Mr. Scott Schmerson, because Woodland Hills is divided into LUSD between Nick Melvin and Scott. So I worked with both of them, and last month we were able to adopt a resolution about the Armenian genocide, and that will be an official holiday where the April 24 will be a holiday for the RSD, and it will not be an excuse not for the Armenian students not to show up. So it's going to be an equal opportunity for everyone to learn and commemorate the Armenian genocide through the program that we are working. And at the same time, we are also working on the Jewish Holocaust and through some Jewish organizations. We would like to bring more awareness because we do have the Holocaust happened and there is a history behind it. And in our schools in Israel, they teach us about the Holocaust. They teach us about the Armenian genocide. So I think it will be a good awareness program for the students in the community and also in the boundaries.
Thank you, Maron. Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, we're going to continue with the questions where we left off.
And it is a 2-minute.
We do have a 2-minute rule, just to let you know, Maron. Thank you. So anybody else would like to answer those questions?
Moto?
This question is for Kathleen. So in terms of like parks and recreations, how are you going to like improve green space around here and allow for like more recreation outdoors?
That's a really great question. I would say that there is definitely some interest currently on the council, and I would be a new member of the council. I'm not currently on it. In terms of making sure that new developments have green space, working to see if we can improve the existing Warner Center Park. I was really lucky when I was living in North Hollywood to live right across the street from a really fantastic park that had trees and an area for dogs and outdoor exercise equipment. And I would be curious to know exactly how that came to be and see whether we can expand upon that in Woodland Hills. I would say, judging from this conversation, the Reseda City Council, Neighborhood Council is a little bit ahead of where the Woodland Hills Council is. We definitely need to work on expanding our ties to other people in the community and being more invested in speaking with the council member's office. But I think that there's great opportunity to focus on environmental issues. And I know that there's been some concern about a lack of trees in the area because it's so hot in Woodland Hills. It's really necessary for us to expand that green space.
Thank you so much. Now,
Anna,
you can unmute yourself, please.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you guys mentioned the trees, right? I love nature. I'm outside actually. What's it called? I'm so sorry for my language. I am being, I don't know, I always have a hard time. So I wanted to know, how come we always like cut trees and then we build things and we call it, remodeling or rebuilding the community? Like the park had so many pretty trees, and then they had just planted it not that long ago, and then they cut them all down. And, it's kind of like you spend money, you waste money. And Bloomingfield, he put signs up to make the streets look pretty, but there's a lot of handicap accessibility problems. And I'm concerned with the homeless problem, like the crisis and everything. Like my mom was homeless. I at one point was homeless. I'm a student, college student. So I wanted to know how, Kathleen, right? How would you get the resources to have this? And how do we limit waste, from having to cut down trees, build, and then cut and then build again? It's a very hard cycle.
Yeah, so I definitely agree that those things are important. I want to answer these questions, and honestly, I am not sure. We definitely need to get, we can see your phone on the screen, by the way. Anna.
Yeah, that's the comment that Jamie was saying, how it's our fault for being ignorant when some of us can't read, and some of us can't even speak English. I live in a diverse community and they all speak different languages. Filipinos, Arabs, different Latinos, different races, Russians. not everyone speaks English. And so I feel it was insulting and discriminative to say that. And I'm sorry to use your platform, but I do want to know about your ideas with the trees and the environment. I just wanted to let you know there was a reason I said what I said.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely, again, believe that we should work on that. I'm not sure what resources are available to us. There's been a lot of focus by this current council on, painting bridges and painting fire hydrants, which is all fantastic. But there's definitely, with new developments, a real question about the availability of green space. And I think that it's important for us, especially in the Plum Committee, to weigh in about the sorry, I lost my train of thought. I think it's important to weigh in on the Plum Committee about how much green space is included in all these new developments. And I would like to make that part of it. I'm also curious about whether we can do anything with composting, because the nearest composting area is all the way in Pacoima, which is not very accessible. I looked into composting solutions and there just isn't any around here. So maybe that could be a new project for Reseda and Woodland Hills to work together on.
Sorry, that was an apologies because there's a lot of questions coming in the chat. So they're directed to some of the people. If you are more than happy to answer some of the question, go right ahead.
About Reseda and Woodland Hills.
Okay, so yes, and some of the questions are coming in.
Hello.
Hi, sorry.
Hi. This question is for Victor, actually. I was wondering, what do you plan on doing in order to increase the accessibility of sidewalks?
Yeah, let's start by cleaning them. That's my proposal. Let's clean the sidewalks so people want to walk on them. Is my idea. You like that one? I mean, I think it's pretty basic, but honestly, if you walk down Sherman Way, you kind of be grossed out sometimes, depending on where you're walking. So I've been looking at ways to, if the city won't do it for us to have a self-serviceable model in which we can pay for street cleaning on our own. One of the ideas that have been talked about with our slate is, do we want to try to start and implement a business improvement district in Reseda? There's pros and cons, obviously, so that idea still needs to be hashed out. But that's my general thought in regards to sidewalk accessibility.
So thank you so much. And also, DJ, there was a question that was answered because we kind of interrupted. Do you want to continue? I think it was regarding the collaborate group. Or if you want to answer, there's some questions in the chat room. I'm going to leave it up to the candidates if they want to answer any of the questions. So that is, yes, Carla.
So there was a couple of questions about downtown Reseda. So as far as Brenda's question, how my business experience can help raise up downtown Reseda, I think one of the best ways we can do this is a lot through business restoration. And when we think about that, obviously we think of funding, but a lot of local funding and volunteer opportunities, whether it's farmers markets, as Jennifer had mentioned, even community events like live music shows, or even dog adoption days that we can partner up with local businesses. Those are the kind of events that are going to bring people out, because you can't necessarily find that in every single town. Also, I am a producer. I have my little studio back here, and I have created, monetized, and produced a lot of different content. And I think that I would want to give that as part of my involvement with Reseda, to really just as being a part of it, bring my gear, bring my equipment, and capture a lot of these amazing things so people could really feel like they have an extension, more than just a photo and a flyer, but really creating more video content so that people can also get to know us more as a community and other things that we're doing to improve. News does not have to always be written. I don't think everyone interacts the same way with content. And I think that's why I've been able to work on such an array of different things in my business. And I think we can bring that mindset to the Reseda Council, not just through the website, but through social media, as I mentioned before. And as I always say, without sounding corny, a picture, can speak 1,000 words, but a video can speak 1,000,000. So it really is a great extension for us to talk about what's happening in the community and get people excited the way they would get excited about events happening in Woodland Hills or Tarzana. I want people to get just as excited here in Reseda because we can do that. And part of it happens through capturing some of those moments. So that's one of the things I would like to do aside from local funding and restoration.
Anyone else from the Reseda Council would like to answer that question? Anybody else want to answer that question? Reseda Neighborhood Council? No? Okay.
Yasmin Pomeroy, unmute yourself.
Thank you. My question is in regard to our unhoused population, and this can be a question for anyone on either council, for any candidate. So we've had this opportunity as a city to collect funding from FEMA that the city just completely dropped the ball on. So I'm wondering, as stakeholders, where we are all incredibly frustrated with how our unhoused neighbors have been treated, with how our unhoused neighbors have been priced out of their neighborhoods, with how they are not being cared for, with how there is absolutely no there's no collection to come help them throw away their trash, which is at no fault of their own. How do you plan to work with City Hall to ensure that something like this does not happen again, where we do have access to funding, where we could get 100% reimbursement to go back into our city to house our unhoused neighbors? So how do you plan to work with City Hall to make sure that they don't drop the ball on something like that again?
Jamie, yes.
Ooh, you asked one I feel very passionate about. All right. So at the beginning of the pandemic, we had 75% FEMA matching that was available. That is, based on the last numbers I saw, that is $59 million that the city has not yet asked for reimbursement from the federal government, that we are owed, that we have paid for. Originally, there were, I believe it was about 15,000 folks who were identified as high risk, and they were going to put them into hotel rooms, apartments, and it was going to be paid for 75% by the feds. I think at its most, the city only ever contracted, I think, around 4,300, 4,700, and currently that's now down to, I think, around 1,700 to 2,000, depending on the day. Then in the most recent federal budget, it got up to 100% federal funding. And we still have, you cannot ask me why the city council has failed to take money from the federal government, because literally we could house 15,000 people in apartments now and pay the hotels for it with the FEMA money, and we haven't. And why the city hasn't acted on this, I don't know, but it is a question that I have asked Bob Blumenfield's staff repeatedly, because that's actually an existing solution. Instead of putting up cabins that would get people into immediate housing, and it's basically like already allowed, like the numbers have already been approved for about 15,000 people, and yet the city continues to sit on its hands. And I don't understand why, because it's actually a very, very viable alternative. And a lot of the complaints that when you talk about like the so-called service resistant homeless population, it's because they don't want to go into congregate housing because they don't want to get raped. They don't want to have their things stolen. They don't want to have exposure to a communicable disease, especially with COVID right now. But we have funding for private hotel rooms. And we, have not asked to be reimbursed for the funding that we're already owed. And we have done nothing, literally nothing, to use the 100% funding that's available to us now. And it boggles my mind. And I know that there are folks on city council who are pushing this and trying to work on it. But to my knowledge, Bob is not one of them. That bothers me immensely. Thank you for that question.
Well, thank you so much, Jamie. Anyone else like to answer that question? Kathleen? Yes, please unmute yourself.
So all I can really say is, Jamie, you really expressed a lot of the feelings that I have towards this as well. You know, there are obviously, Yasmin, major city issues that we all need to focus on. There's no reason that things like Project Room Key shouldn't be massively expanded at the very, very least. I really am very concerned about the lack of affordable housing. You know, I earn a pretty decent income and I could not afford where I was living, and that's in the valley. So I can only imagine what it looks like on the west side. And of course, people work in these areas. They have family in these areas. So they're not likely to want to be pushed out into the desert, as some people have suggested. I think that it's the unhoused population issue is probably the top thing on most people's minds, whether it's I don't want them here or I'm very concerned. One thing that I think Woodland Hills Council should do is agree that there needs to be some sort of unhoused housing in our area. The current council is very much against that. But since we're asking all of the neighbor towns to take on, you know, at least temporary housing, it's important that Woodland Hills do their part as well. And we have an unhoused population here that needs help. One of the really easy things that we could do is make sure that there's a safe area for RV parking, because that's definitely been an issue in the neighborhood right now. And, you know, I think that there's a lot that we can do on this issue that just isn't happening right now, both on the neighborhood council and city council level.
Thank you
so much. So any more questions that we could address?
I think Yasmin was looking for.
Yasmin, did you have a question? No.
Okay.
Okay. So, Miran, did you have a question? Okay, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you to Cindy for her question. You know, I'm very touched by this question because when you have a genocide survivor or a Holocaust survivor, indeed, we need to bring an awareness to our community. And I will tell you that the United States government authorized the building of the Holodomor Memorial to victims of the Ukrainian Femini genocide of 1932 and 1933 in Washington, D.C. in 2006. And the United States Senate adopted a non-binding resolution of 3rd of October of 2018, recognizing the Holodomor as a genocide. And in 2017, there was actually an event by the LUSD to do a memorial service for the Holodomor. This is actually very important to bring this awareness because we need to bring more recognition. We need to teach our community and our students and our schools to know what happened in that history. And I will be doing everything I've asked to bring that to be recognized on a higher level.
Thank you so much, Miran. And I think we have 2 more questions coming in. It's a question for DJ. Let me see you want to read?
Okay, for DJ, since you've been involved with the neighborhood council for so long, in your opinion, what makes a good board member?
What makes a good board member? Well, having an idea of what you're passionate about and trying to stick with that. I mean, we do get people who come on the board who have a million ideas. They want to do a billion things, and they just get very dissolute and they get burned out, and they, you know, they're like Kogan grass where it just burns really fast and then it's gone. And that's problematic because they get a whole bunch of stuff going and then they're gone and it's left in the lap of the long timers to handle it. So I think it's good for people to focus on an issue or an area that they're good at, whether it's plum or whether it's outreach or whether it's the elections or whether it's the technology side. Find a committee there that you're really passionate about and go in there and put your all in that. Because if we've got enough variety of people putting their all into each of the committees, then we got a good, smooth working board. That would be my answer to that.
Thank you, DJ. Anyone else has any more questions for any of the candidates? Okay, anyone to raise their hands? Okay, there's a question coming in. This is from Anna. Do you want to ask your question? Anna? Or
is anti-homeless and we help vote for it. So I took it offensive, and that is how I feel. It was disrespectful. Sorry. Seems like a person I feel more confident and trusting.
Okay. And that was a question from Anna. I'm not sure if it was a statement or a question.
Oh, especially Kathleen, Jennifer seems like a person I feel more confident and trusting.
Okay, great. All right. We have one person that jumped
Moran.
in. Moran, do you have a question? Or Moran? Moran, did you want to?
Yes, I wanted to answer the question, what makes you a good board?
Yes, okay, please.
There is one thing: you must fight for your stakeholders, for your residents. You are an elected officials for their voice. You need to find the bridge between the residents and the city council. You need to find how you can be creative and making them more engaged in making the decision. The community are the community are the community members are the core to make the community looks better, successful, and also be very honest with your community members. Transparency. Listen to them, listen to their voices, and listen what the pain is, and find a solution. Because for every problem there is a solution, and a miracle could happen if we work together.
Thank you, Moran. Thank you so much. Jamie, do you want to answer?
I wanted to ask the Woodland Hills candidates, since I have friends who live in Woodland Hills. If you are elected, what is the #1 thing that you would like to see changed or improved or transformed in Woodland Hills? Because I go there a lot, so I'm interested.
Okay, thank you so much. We're actually going to take 2 questions, one from Anna and the other one's going to be from Victor. So Anna, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you. I wanted to ask, is it Jennifer? I'm so bad. Is she still here or she left? She left, huh?
Jennifer, I think she did. Jennifer had
Oh, okay. I just felt what I was trying to write in the comments. I suck at spelling. That's always been my weakness. So if you guys read it wrong, it's because I wrote it wrong.
Oh.
You got it right.
So I meant to say, like, my family is not anti-homeless, and people keep saying that we are. We supported and voted for it, and it sucks that we're being like labeled, and it kind of hurts. And anyways, that was the thing, and we just wanted to have this relocated, and so I wanted to ask Jennifer, how would you want to relocate this to another location? We've gave Bob many lists of other locations way before he built the teeny houses, and so it's like exhausting for everyone, and that's why people get emotionally frustrated. But she's not here, so Kathleen, will you answer that question for me? How would you would you be in support of relocating, or if anyone would be in support in relocating, could you guys let us know?
I definitely think it's a tricky question, and I recognize that there's concerns about those who are unhoused living potentially in their backyard. I hope that those concerns are unfounded. The fact of the matter is we have people who are in need of housing. It's the only option that the city has offered right now is these very temporary solutions, like these cabin communities. I don't think that they're a long-term solution. They're not even meant to be a long-term solution. But since that's all that the council has been able to give to us, I would have a really hard time asking for changes since this took such a long time to happen. I definitely feel for you and recognize that it can't always be comfortable. But I have to hope for the best until there's, known problems in the area. I think that it's for the best for our whole community to have new neighbors and to make sure that they're, not on the streets. They're in need of housing, and this is the only thing that's being provided right now.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to have a question from Victor. He had his hand up, and Victor, and then we're asking Jamie, and then is that Carla? Okay, so Victor,
No,
you
no,
can
no,
unmute
not
yourself.
Carla. No.
Okay.
Who's going?
Yes.
Am I going? My turn? Okay. I actually I didn't want to ask a question. I just wanted to address Anna's concern, to be honest. And I just wanted to say that I completely understand where you're coming from. I understand, that the fact that you don't want to be labeled anti-homeless because, you're not. And at the same time, you also don't want the homeless cabin community, right next to where you live. I understand those two dynamics perfectly well, right? Now, having said that, I think what Jamie was attempting to say in her exchange there, but it's hard to say what without the full context of that, the whole thread, what was actually going on. But what I think she was trying to say was, this is more or less out of the neighborhood council's hand. This is, in my opinion, this falls squarely on Bob's lap, 100%. He did this, like we didn't, the Reseda Neighborhood Council didn't know about this until it was already approved and underway. So I want to make that clear to you, Anna, and to everybody else that's listening. And the way he went about it is just horrible. Also the pre-recorded message that he did, that was phony as heck. The town hall, the quote unquote town hall, that was BS in my opinion. Just some pre-recorded YouTube video that people got to listen to, and there was no real questions and answers at all. It wasn't until Jamie stepped up to the bat and actually arranged a real Q&A to have him actually address some of the concerns. Like that wouldn't have happened without her support. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to address this as well, because I didn't want you, Anna, to kind of pigeonhole Jamie in all of this. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victor. And Jamie, you can unmute yourself.
And actually, I think too, the thing is that this is a systemic issue with Bob. And that's the question that you have to be asking, because you can't look at this as it's just the Reseda cabin community. So Anna, did you know that in, I think it's 2017 or 2018, Bob made a commitment to build 222 units of permanent supportive housing? Did you know that? Do you know how much of it he actually built? It was 25%. He did, I think, 54 units. So he didn't meet that goal. Other council districts met that goal. Part of the reason that the cabin communities are happening is because the city is under threat of consent decree in a federal case. We have to rapidly deploy over 6,000 units, or the city will be put under federal consent decree. the city does not want to be put under federal consent decree, but I guarantee you, you do not want the city to be put under federal consent decree, because then what will happen is the city will actually have no control over its response to homelessness. And if you look at what happened in Orange County, where it was put under federal consent decree, you actually saw the lower income neighborhoods having the majority of the homeless housing. So the answer is that Bob should have built the permanent supportive housing that he committed to, but he didn't. But the other answer is that we really don't want to be under a federal consent decree, because it's going to make worse housing choices that are going to be concentrated even more so in our neighborhood. But I guarantee you there are 50 people in Reseda who want that housing. They want to be in the cabin community, and they're the people who want the stability and they want help. And part of my combativeness in that next door thread was that there was misinformation that was being said. It was being said that it was going to only be men, which isn't true. That cabin community is going to be about 60% men, 40% women. A huge percent of the homeless that we have in our community are women who have fled domestic violence, and they want a safe place to sleep. I'm a survivor of sexual assault. I get wanting to have a door that locks, and I have a great deal of empathy with that. You're talking about how you don't feel safe. There's women on our streets now who don't feel safe, and we need something for them. And the fact is, Bob didn't build them. But let's also look at it even more systemically. Why is Bob proposing something right now in the city hall that nobody's really paying attention to, really should, that will make expensive, because he wants to change the rules about concrete versus lumber in larger apartment buildings? If that passes, and it was written by the concrete lobby, by the way, housing prices will go up, which means we will build less, or that those apartments will be even more expensive, which means we're not going to get the bang for our buck. And it's over concerns over fire, except that when was the last time there was a wildfire in downtown Los Angeles? Because that's the areas that it would apply to. I'd really encourage everyone to look at the concrete legislation that he has pending, because it's really badly written, and it goes against all of his words about talking about wanting to build more housing, because it's just going to make it more expensive. It's going to make it harder, and it doesn't actually do anything to make it safer. And actually, concrete has worse earthquake performance, but that's an aside. So all of these things are systemic, but I do get mad when disinformation is being posted. And my response to that was in response to disinformation. And I think that we all have a right to be mad when somebody is posting something and you're repeatedly telling someone that it isn't true. What is this? You are concerned with Bob family, and I feel you aren't. Why am I concerned with Bob's family? I don't support. Do you not get that I don't support Bob? I don't think that he's a terribly good legislator in all of this. Like, so please stop saying, ugh.
Okay, we are going to just take one more question, and then we're just going to be ending it. So just the last question, Carla, and then from there, we're going to actually say thank you to all the candidates, and just say, one more thing that you want to say before. Remember, this is being recorded, so think of what you want to say so people could remember you. Thank you. Carla, unmute yourself, please.
Hi, I actually was going to make a comment also about what's going on with the cabin housing. So I really will make this probably less than a minute. But I did want to mention that one way that the neighborhood council can help, I think, Anna, in a way that maybe we can't stop this obviously from happening. It's not, this has been in process for a long time, but there are ways to really expose, information about the health laws and the process that they're going to be taking in these homes. I've worked with a lot of organizations like Los Angeles House of Ruth that work with domestic violence survivors. And I think if your family and all of us became more aware about how they're actually doing the application process and the different things that are going to go into this, including the protections, because police aren't just going to let the quality of life go down there. We have a police station very nearby. So I think we can help by maybe getting you more aware with some of the health laws and the protections that are going to be allotted through these programs for the people who are staying there, as well as the people in the surrounding areas. Because of course, we don't want any violence to go up in Reseda, but we also don't want to act like just because this is happening that is going to be the result, because there have been great results from amazing companies like Laurel House, like I said, Los Angeles House of Ruth, that have really done things like this and have helped thousands of families. So I do think that as a temporary solution, it's not necessarily what I think all of us wanted, but I do think that there's more awareness we can give you and more information that might bring more comfort in what's really going to happen and possible results. So I really wanted to make sure that you knew that that's a way that we can do some continued efforts in the future to make you guys more aware of what's happening and what's going to be done in the coming year in that area.
Well, we just want to say thank you so much for all the candidates and all the participants, and thank you so much. Now we are going to be closing it out, and we're going to start with the Woodland Hills candidate. Please just say really short and just bow out gracefully. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Kathleen.
I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for having me here. And I really hope that we can set some new initiatives and progress in Woodland Hills with this upcoming council.
Thank you so much. Miran?
Yes, I want to thank everyone and thank you, Yasmin, for putting this event together. This was very enjoyable, very productive. It's very important that the coming new board council on the Woodland Hills will work with the residents and the stakeholders, because they are your voice and they must find a solution. I am very much into tears and to trouble to hear all the problems that is happening in Woodland Hills, and there is no, and your elected officials are running from the responsibility. You know, every Tuesday, your elected officials, they are in the city hall and they get their budget. And that is a budget, it's a mandate to use it in the community, whether it's homeless, whether it's a school, whether it's any art. We need to be all together and fight and not to stop, because the fight will bring the results and the victory. Thank you all.
Oh, thank you, Miran. Yeah.
Victor S. Unmute. Yeah, unmute.
Victor?
Hey, sorry about that. I was double muted. Just picture me doing the Richard Nixon peace signs, vote for me. Thank you. Yeah, one of those. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking of. No, but sorry. Not to, kidding aside, thank you for having me here. Thank you for, I thought this was a really good conversation. I'm glad that we were able to, talk to Anna. Hopefully, I really mean that, what I said in the comments, that, we can work together to address your concerns. And hopefully we can, find the middle ground in that respect. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Victor. Jamie?
Hi, I want to first off thank Yasmin, Stephen, and Amy so much for putting this together. It's been a really wonderful event and a really great chance to engage with the community and talk about some really important issues. I strongly believe that if we have people that care and we have people that pay attention, that we can tackle hard problems, and that's what I want to do. I don't think that we can look at any one issue just as it pops up. I think we have to take a systemic approach that uses data, that uses intelligence. I think we can use taxpayer money wisely and actually solve our problems, but we need to be a voice that pushes the city to act in our best interests. And I would love to be that voice for you. So I hope that I will earn your vote. I think that the work that I've done so far in my short time on the council shows my dedication to my community, and I hope to continue doing that. Thank you so
much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And Daryl? DJ?
Let me, okay, so I guess I'm not
muted.
I am, you can hear me, perfect.
Yeah, thank you very much for everyone involved with putting this together. Sorry I couldn't get here on time and I ran kind of late. I was out dealing with clients and out on the road, so I did the best I could in getting here and trying to hit the ground running. I did want to also say thank you to Miran. He really hit the nail on the head too when he talked about how as neighborhood council members, we always need to pay attention to the fact that we are the voice of the stakeholders, and we need to be we should not be having a personal agenda that overrides what the stakeholders want. I mean, it's okay to have a personal agenda, but you need to be listening and see, are you in tune with what the stakeholders really want? And don't ignore what they're saying and support what they're saying and realize that just because they want something different than what you want, that doesn't make them wrong. And if that's really what they want, they're the ones that we're working at this for. So they're the ones we need to listen to. So kudos to Miran for pointing that out. I think that's a very valuable insight that we all need to keep in mind. Again, thank you for putting this together and good luck to everybody. Hope we get good boards in both Woodland Hills and Reseda.
Okay, Carl.
Thank you so much.
Is that me? Hi. All right. Well, yes, thank you so much. First of all, Yasmin, you were so great in communication. It's so awesome to get to meet everyone like this. And I really have appreciated just initially the amazing outreach from some of the already board members and communicating with me. So I already feel like we're building a team. So I really hope that you consider voting for me for the business stakeholder. I hope to be a big voice and do a lot in the outreach side of things and really help create more communication between us and the direct city hall and city council members, as well as with our community here. So I hope to be able to work with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Did I forget anyone? No, I think we got everyone. So I just want to say thank you to Amy for being such an amazing timekeeper. Thank you. And also to my co-host, Stephen, also for being delightful. And thank you so much. Please, again, don't forget to register to vote. And I just want to say good night and to everyone. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye.